So I've got out a few of my paintings that I've been working on to talk about first. And this is a painting I've done for my Patreon channel for the month of May. So we'll do this cute cow. And then I do some tutorials, and those are for people who join the, the $10 level. I've got some new acrylic tutorials. So I did this, this will be one of them, this cloud, and there'll be more, but these are some that I've gotten ready for it. And then I've got this real simple how to paint a prickly pear with the prickly pear fruit. And this is also acrylic too, just done on some canvas paper. I get these canvas pads from Michael's, and they're a good way to practice because you don't have to use, a lot of expensive canvases. So I'm going to go back. Last week we started this, and this is just on some canvas, and we started it, and then this week I'm using the Facebook Live. Hi Stevie, does it look all right from your angle? Okay, good, because from my view, the cell phone makes it flips it the wrong way, so I'm glad it looks right. Okay. Okie dokie. So normally this acrylic paint would be dry, but I'm using a Stay Wet palette, so there's a little sponge underneath here, and that just keeps the water going. And I also get these little spray bottles from the art store, and you can get them at the dollar store too. I have a big one. The difference between the two is the little spray bottle just doesn't soak as much. The paint gets a nice mist rather than this is a little bit thicker of a spray. And another really handy little gadget that I got from Beak is this little thing opens the acrylic tubes really well. This has like the little notches for the golden tubes, and then all of them are different, so you just put the paint tube in, and really simple little gadget you can get at the art store. Okay, so I've got out all my paint, and I've got kind of a messy palette here, but that's okay. It's actually probably, this is dry, most of it, so. And just one thing I have to get is, just get my brush here. And I'm working from the reference photo that I posted to the Facebook page. And when I get this video done and complete, I'll just post that to the whole complete video. I'll put it up on YouTube, so don't forget to go to my YouTube channel and follow me there, and then it'll go on Patreon. So I'm going to work on the seagull, and I started by blocking in some of this that warm gray, and that mix, I'll mix it up again for you. It's a really good one to know. It's a little white, and I've got a little bit of that transparent brown oxide and a little bit of the viridian. And if it's too green, just take a little bit more brown oxide, and then you get that nice warm white color. So I'm just going to take a little bit of that, and I have to clean my palette sometime. And I'm just going to start to block in wherever I see that lighter white color on the seagull. And this is like a real beginner level seagull, so I'm not working to get it to look, like a masterpiece. This is just something, it would look really cute, on a wall, like in your bathroom or something, if you have sort of a nautical theme. Just something really kind of whimsical and fun. And then I see a little bit of that light white up here, And I'm looking at that shape in the reference photo that I posted, and I'm just kind of blocking that sort of real light shape in. And now you see there's a real contrast between the dark and the light, but that's okay because we can mix up some more color. And then I'll put that white in there. The dark kind of comes around, and I can almost hear the waves crashing. Okay, so now you see there's an extreme between the two values, but that's okay. We'll take our mix and add a little more of that brown oxide into it. And I'm going to kind of add a little bit of this cobalt blue in there and that brown oxide and white, and kind of mix up a little in between. I just got to make it a little darker. A little more of that brown oxide and white, because the Seagull has a lot of this bluey gray color coming in. And it's still a little too, the value is too light, so we got to mix it a lot darker. It's hard to see sometimes, and until you put it on your canvas, it's really, you just never know. So I'm just going to get a little more. Okay, that's better, you see, because now it's kind of blending with that dark. So we're just going to blend that in. I'm looking at my reference photo, and there's that bluey gray color for the wing, and kind of comes in behind here, and then that bluey gray is kind of on the cheek here, and that was just some cobalt blue and a little brown oxide and some white. Just add a little more like that. Kind of blend that in a little. And just keep going. And so if you're watching, don't forget I post to YouTube as well, and so you can always go on there and see some tutorials that I'm adding up there. And I have a Patreon channel where I do full-length videos. You know, they walk you right through the whole entire process of painting a cute, you know, Christmas cardinal or a cow. I have lots and lots of lessons on there. So there's my little ad for the day. And then I'm going to block in a color for that beak. So I'll just get some of this cobalt, a little bit of that, maybe that orange, and or red. Use some red oxide because it's got sort of a browny, yellowy color. Until you get something that looks like that kind of mustardy yellow beak color. I'm just going to put in some of that just to get that little beak in there. And then I'm going to go back and get a little white in there and kind of lift that color up a little. Just get a little highlight for the top of the beak. And like I said, this is we're just trying to keep it simple and fun for the Seagull. And so I got a little bit more there. And I'm going to darken underneath a bit more with some of this brown oxide and that cobalt, and just sort of get that bit of that darker beak in there. Just got to get some more paint on my brush. It's kind of one of those days. There we go. And I'm not going for perfect today. I'm just trying to get the basic thing done here. And then I'm going to get some of that black and put the stripe on there. Right down and it comes underneath here. I think that's good enough. If I was working and trying to make it, you know, like a more realistic painting, I would, you know, sit and work on that longer, but I'll maybe come back to that. But for now, I'm happy. I'm just going to make the eye a little bit more pronounced, and then put some of this. I've got this black on my brush. I'm just sort of adding a little to the tail. Put a little bit more shadow in there. So this is looking a little more lifelike, and then go back to my bigger brush, and I want to work on the shape of the seagull. There's that white that comes down there, so we're gonna get some white into that gray mix and just sort of trying to keep the values, because we want this to look nice and bright. So you can't make the whole thing pure white, but you want to show that those feathers coming down there. So I've just got a bit of that same mixture of cobalt white and transparent brown oxide there, and I'll mix a little more of that cobalt in there for the shadows, and kind of bring it up in the middle there. I just keep looking back and forth at my reference photo while I'm doing this. So then I'll add a little bit of light on the cheek. And there's a lot of reflected light there too. So I'll get a little bit of white and mix it in there, and there's a little bit of a kind of a light kind of on the back of the head there. It's like it's just catching a glow from the sky or the water or something, and it kind of goes on the back there. And then there's some lighter feathers here. And then we got to go back and get some of that sunshine on its chest there. So I'm just getting some white and a little, you can use a little yellow in the white to get a real kind of bright white color. Thank you, William. I saw a little, I don't see much while I'm painting, but I think William just gave me a thumbs up. Thanks. So, yeah, I'm new to doing any of this on, you know, a live stream, but I think it's really fun. I've seen people who do watercolor and stuff like that, and it's kind of a nice way to build a community, because you normally don't get to talk to people while you're painting unless you go to an art school and do it. And so it's kind of fun to be able to share something like this without having to drive anywhere. Okay, now I'm just going to mix a little more of that gray in there, and just kind of wasn't enough. So I'm going to add a little more of that blue and a little more of that brown oxide. And I'm just going to, you don't want it to be as bright as the brightest highlight there, but you got to kind of, with acrylic, it's a little bit harder to gauge the values as it is in oil, because you can just kind of blend it a little easier. So you got to just kind of look at the reference photo and then kind of gauge those values a little. So I'm just looking kind of back and forth there. And there's a little bit of light coming under the beak. And just kind of blend that in there. And there's some little details on the tail here. Just kind of whip some of those little feathers in there. And I'm going to get a little white, and I'll use little tiny dab of orange and just get even more of a highlight there. And then in the reference photo, there's a highlight on its little legs, which is nice. So I'm just going to use for that, because I used a little of that transparent red oxide in there to paint them. I'm going to mix a little bit of white with red oxide and just put a little highlight there on the edge. There you go. Now you can kind of see the light coming down in the picture. And if we're just doing this is just a fun painting. We're not trying to do a realistic painting. We're just having fun here. And we've got now we got the legs, and I put them on a log, like one of those, you know, those old beams that stick out of the ocean. I didn't put them on that big black thing. So I'm just going to use some brown oxide and white, and I'll add some red oxide, and I'm just going to add a little bit of highlight to the wood with that. The goal is to keep it simple. You know, I'm just trying to not overcomplicate things today. And then to get it to blend, just get more of that brown oxide, or you can add some ultramarine blue to kind of gray it down a little, and kind of go with a, you know, kind of a bit of, you can add even more blue to that, and just kind of gray that into the shadow there. And I might just, you know, leave that detail like that. And then later, with acrylic, this dries so fast here, you could do like a glaze over it. So you can get some of my liquid medium, you're going to laugh. It looks something like this when I buy it, but now the label's off because I don't use a lot of it. But just pour some liquid medium out and take a little bit of that. This is just the liquid medium, and you can add some ultramarine blue into that liquid medium, and it creates like a transparent glaze. So you can go over the log after with a glaze like that. If you need more blue, if you don't see a lot of it, just add some blue, and it just creates a really pretty effect. And you can do that on the bird too while we're doing it. So a little glazing liquid, a little bit of your color, and make sure your brush is clean, and you can glaze wherever you want. And then if you get your paper towel a little wet, you can just lift off some of the glaze here and there, and you know, it really is a nice effect. Like I might lift the glaze off the lightest part of the beam, and then the rest looks shadow. I might glaze the back foot with that blue just to give this foot more of a highlight. So that's something you can do and have a lot of fun with, you know, when you're painting something like this. Now that you've kind of blocked it in a little, you can go and tweak the details. So this little shoulder kind of has some of that light coming across. There's a little bit of more feathers showing up here. This has a little more light here, like that. And I really love Seagull paintings. They're so relaxing to paint. You might add some, I put out some of this turquoise paint. I like making the water something that it really, you know, it's just kind of more abstract than, you know, it's not at all like the photo, and I don't really know what I would do with that, but I'm just going to add a little bit of this turquoise here and there too. It just depends on what mood you're in. You could add any color, you know, you could add some purple, you could add some nice shades of viridian in there. whatever you want to do to make it whatever the feeling you want out of this painting. I kind of love this little bit of turquoise. You could even put a little bit of that in the log. Kind of gives it just a real nice, nautical feeling, happy feeling. And I really like that. And so I hope that everyone could see this video. And it'll be on here for a while, I think. It comes on and it stays on Facebook for a while. And then I'll get this video and I'll put it on Patreon for my little group of hardworking students, and I'll also try to post it to YouTube. So I think that's about it, and I'll probably come back on, maybe even next Tuesday. I'll publish it to the page when I go on. And if you have any comments about what you would like me to paint next, feel free to leave it in the comments. But other than that, thanks for watching. Thanks for joining Stevie, and for everyone else who tuned in. And I hope you have a great day and that you have a good time painting. And goodbye.